Don't talk to the police. Typical Fed bullshit. Come in, I'm just advising, and then if shit goes wrong, I was never here.
Take notes.
What if it's not his wife?
You corrections people out there, you know that wasn't a ridiculous thing to say. What's going on, Internet? And welcome back to Only Cops. We are on Season 1, Episode 15 of The Rookie. We're going to watch the entire clip because everyone was like, context, context, context. You asked, so we delivered. Welcome and come ride Two Man with us while we go check out this whole episode. Manhunt. This is a
This is the kind of intro we need to stream.
Dude, no kidding. Is that something that kind of goofy too?
Yeah.
Good morning, Officer Nolan. Ready for another exciting day out on the streets of Los Angeles?
Yep. Coffee?
No thanks. I get all the rush I need from making this beautiful city of ours safe for every single
Shut
day.
up, West.
And you will too, if you join the LADP.
Whoa.
Whoa.
What's on her
And
mind?
you will too. I'm sorry, what do I say again?
This is me doing intros.
I do too, and so
Yeah,
will
you talking about DP?
as well. If you join LA...
This LA
Spit up my gum. And that's why we joined the LADG.
LA's finest.
Okay, guys, I know there were a few stumbles in there, yes, in the beginning, but this is Hollywood, right? They fix that stuff in the edit. I think this video is going to make the department very proud.
Mr. Bradford, would you like the honor?
Actually, sir, I think that should go to Lopez. The whole thing was her idea.
Lopez?
There is no promotional video.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's
I
good
will say
hazing
this,
for rookies.
For morale,
This is awful. I don't know what you're doing.
this is pretty top notch.
Can I get more powder?
Dude, could you imagine if we got to watch something like that in briefing? I would love
If
it.
it was just like a
I
thing
would
you
love
did
it.
every single time
Yeah.
for the shift.
Yeah.
Every new set of this would be like so in a bigger department, you typically have anywhere from 2 to sometimes up as 5
Yeah.
academies in
Depending
a
on
year.
how long they are.
And so you'll okay, LAPDs of 3 weeks and I don't
Well,
know.
LAPD probably has the space and the ability to do more than one class at a time. We were 2 classes max, and we only overlapped for like 2 or 3 months.
I was gonna say,
'cause we
if
just
that.
didn't have the room.
But I think it'd be hilarious just for morale. It's like public hazing as opposed to the private hazing that typically happens.
Yeah, it's
I-
that's
I,
funny though.
I do think from like and you'll see this with any organization. I don't care if you're in football or whatever it is. When it is a high stress thing, you tend to have like goofy stuff that happens. I've
Mhm.
seen this even in plays where they'll like give crappy jobs to like the new people or whatever. And part of it's to reintroduce you to the group or to get you introduced to the group. And I think also part of it's to be like, hey, this isn't like as serious. They try to bring some levity to how, because the rest of their day is going to be stressful. They're being evaluated still as rookies.
Especially with Nolan on their shift.
No kidding. Yeah. So I as much as people might look at that from the outside looking in, well, that's rude or that's mean, or
No,
again,
it's
there's
funny.
like a negative connotation to hazing oftentimes. I think functionally when you see it in these types of environments, this is just a way to say like, hey, like this is also part of them accepting you into the group.
Yeah.
And so it's like if we're at a point where we can joke, then I think we're at a part where you're starting to get a better acceptance. Also, like you can see this even with pilots.
Yeah.
That like your call sign
Yep.
is never something positive.
No.
And someone else has to give it to
Should
you.
always be funny.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I'm here.
This is what I tell the Discord. If
Yeah.
I don't make fun of you, I don't like
It's
you.
because I don't like you. If I'm not acknowledging you, it's because I don't like you.
Look at those nice palm trees.
Every time I see it, it's
We're all gonna die.
Yeah, we are. Hopefully not like that.
Right here. Right now. This bomb is packed with C4, ball bearings, screws, broken glass. When this thing goes off, this whole room is gonna turn into a blender. And guess what? If you don't die instantly, you're gonna suffer fatal secondary infections because I soaked the shrapnel in my own filth.
Gross.
Now, you've all been taught to shoot on sight when you
Yes.
see a bomber, right? But you can't shoot me because I'm holding a dead man switch. I let it go, it detonates. So your only shot at survival is to talk me into giving up.
What a
But
convoluted situation.
you only have 10 words to do
What?
it. Go.
Ma'am, you don't want to do this.
Boom. It's a slaughterhouse in here. Go.
My name is Lucy Chen, and
Boom. They're IDing you through dental records. Boom. You just got buried in a shoebox.
I can only imagine the pain you're feeling right now.
You just got 10 more words.
Of course he did.
Okay, so what'd you all do wrong? Officer West
Subject
started
myself to a
mansplaining.
very narrow scope
Officer
of a
Chen?
scenario. So pause it real quick. Scenario training is the best time to get something like that because it does force your brain to be creative. And I do think these situations do happen on patrol where it wouldn't necessarily be a bomb, but a fail is the individual that you're trying to rescue dying. That's a fail every single time.
I mean, it might be a bomb in LA.
Yeah,
A lot of people there, dude.
you're right. You will be. This is what a lot of people will think about, like hostage negotiation or whatever. It takes hours sometimes. If you're very lucky, a response time might be 30 minutes. For something like that, or if they happen to be on standby, they have to be
Well,
ready to go.
And negotiators probably not. Like
Yep.
negotiators probably getting there.
It's a very senior position.
Deep
yeah,
in.
typically. You will do de-escalation in some way, shape or form, way more than you'll use your gun.
Mm-hmm.
Even presenting it. You'll do that more than using handcuffs. You'll do that, maybe not as much as driving. You do drive a lot. But I think that
Yeah, I feel like we were professional drivers.
yeah, dude,
Like,
no kidding.
drove more than I
drove
did
more than
anything
18
else.
We
Yeah.
drove for longer periods of time than you can drive an 18-wheeler. legally.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That being said, the one thing I don't like about that specific scenario is it makes you think that there is no other option. Technically, Tim going to go and try to like stop the plunger from going off. Like if he can put his hand on it, now it's at least a fight over that.
Yeah.
And you're no longer at the mercy of someone who's willing to strap a bomb to themselves and have a dead man switch. The other issue with that is like you're better off isolating that individual and then trying to see what happens and then limiting their movement than you would
Right.
ever be. Like almost the best case scenario is Juan with his net and man catcher thing, but would be to get them stuck somewhere, like in a room or something like that, and then just make it to where they can only really hurt themselves. That's a win in that
And then
scenario.
use a rifle.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. But like the problem with negotiating in that instance and the problem with de-escalation is the type of person that's going to strap a bomb to themselves. How rational do you think that discussion's going to be? Or easy or whatever. And I get, and he did what the textbook will tell you to do. I don't know. I couldn't possibly imagine how you feel right now. You're not trying to empathize because that might almost upset them more. You can sympathize to a certain degree, but you're trying to give them an opportunity to talk to you or to express themselves. They're doing this because they want to express themselves. That's why manifestos exist. That's why, and not to get too terribly dark, but suicide notes exist, is they want to be heard, but you're still only buying your time to allow an irrational person to make a decision. And that's not the type of, again, like the idea I give is if you had 10 people to go drive a bus, are you going to give it to the dark and moody person that's just trying to kill themselves 5 other times?
Yes.
You're not going to let them drive the bus. You want the most reasonable and responsible person to drive that bus. And in a lot of these scenarios, they undervalue oftentimes control, or at least limiting the amount of damage that person can commit. Then once you have them isolated in a situation where all they can hurt is themselves, then de-escalation takes. I think that this book, though is accurate, is oftentimes written by psychologists and not like, it should be written by insurance people who are like fully big on like trying to mitigate risk. And then also for police officers who are trying to mitigate, they're trying to get the best possible outcome. Though the subject dying is not a win, it's way better than them also hurting a bunch of other people. Or also, this might sound callous, but shut down I-30 for 5 hours on top of hurting themselves. Try to limit and mitigate as much of that. That's the one thing I didn't like that they didn't address in that scenario. Is they didn't talk about hey, if I had 50 cops in that room, let's just make it one cop, you
Yeah.
know? Because then at least, you're not renaming half of
Also, why
LA's
were they
streets.
like face to face with her?
Yeah.
That's not where you're going to be doing that.
So it's an interesting. I appreciate what they did with that, and I do think it's a good illustration, a simplified illustration of what de-escalation techniques are. But I don't think for a police officer or for someone trying to attempt de-escalation, I always hate that. Like they're in a standoff and they disarm themselves. You know what I mean? That's that equivalent.
You put
is-
your gun down, and I'll put my gun
yeah.
down.
Technically, if someone's got a bomb and I get closer to them, I am arming them with being able to harm me, and that's the whole reason they did it. So I don't know. That's my only issues with that.
Explaining. Officer Chen wasted time by introducing herself, and Officer Bradford decided to skip words altogether.
They're overrated.
Yes.
If I'd been a hair quicker, you'd be singing my praises.
But you weren't. So that means you fall into the fail category with everybody else except Officer Nolan. What did he do right?
He expressed empathy.
I mean, you faked it.
It doesn't matter if it was real.
Pause it. Was it empathy, Juan? So I can't imagine how you feel. Isn't that like the textbook definition of sympathy?
Yeah.
So like, wait a minute. Like I'm
Empathy is I know what you're feeling.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like you
I
can
was like,
feel
Yeah,
what they're
sympathy is,
feeling.
I want to
Yeah.
understand how you're feeling.
okay, I'm just making sure I'm dyslexic. I have my moments, but I was
Let's
like,
just-
wait a second.
Why don't we just call it compassion?
A perfectly reasonable thing.
Yeah.
He
He showed compassion.
Yeah, that person wants to be heard.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That the
I searched sympathy versus empathy, and the second search result was sympathy versus empathy versus compassion.
Okay.
there it is.
All right.
So this psychologist lady, I don't know if she's sworn. I don't see a badge. I don't see a gun. So I'm assuming this is like a third
She's
party.
FBI. She's a hostage negotiator.
Even worse. Okay, a Fed. We'll keep going.
A Fed.
The only thing that matters is how it comes across.
Active listening plus empathy leads to a rapport, which leads to influence and ultimately behavioral change.
Wow, you read my book.
Twice.
Oh.
Sim.
Okay, well, I read your file. Actually, I read all of your files, but nothing in your past indicates an ability to communicate with people like that. So why do you think that you're so
His
good at it?
divorce.
Yeah.
Because of the training I received from Officer Bishop and Sergeant Gray.
Boom. You just betrayed our trust by giving me a political answer. Our rapport is ruined, and this room is now a horror movie.
Well, that part I agree with. You should blow up bombs for political answers.
I do think that there are just incredible resources at the federal level. You'll have places like Quantico that have been really like,
Well, especially an FBI
yeah,
negotiator,
the-
like
an FBI negotiator would
It's a
know the
different
difference-
level.
They would also know the difference between empathy and sympathy, but they're also much better at even like interviews. Like they actually are literally the ones that write the book
yeah.
on how to conduct interview. Forensics was born from the federal government. A lot of that stuff was pioneered there. So I might not, I have my gripes about the feds in general. However, when it comes to the skills required to go do this, they literally wrote the book. And they're the only people that I think also approach it academically. You see a lot of guesswork at the state and local level on policing or governance. Not that they're any better at it when they're bigger, but they're at least more academic in approach when evaluating how they're doing and whether or not it's not like a Sarah project, you know, where you're like, oh, let's identify the problem and let's propose solutions and then, you know, do whatever's going to get me reelected. They do oftentimes allow subject matter experts to try to evaluate stuff. So the feds can be a resource for some of that stuff. But
What's going on?
Prison transport crash loaded with convicts from the courthouse.
Oh, get that gear, boo. Let's go.
Yeah.
What happened here?
Coyote ran in front of the bus. Graham swerves. We went over.
You swerve for
How
a
many people on
coyote?
board?
that's done.
20 prisoners, 2 of the guards.
Did any prisoners get away?
I think so.
Hey, get down there! Give me a head count.
Wow, he passed out from a giant head bleed. Who saw that coming?
Citywide tactical alert. I need multiple RA, scramble airships, and call additional units from Rampart and North Hollywood. I need a hard
Yikes.
perimeter set around the crash. Assume a 10-minute head start.
Is that the coyote?
I got some over here at 10 o'clock.
Check it out. Be careful.
What if he meant a cartel coyote?
Can you give me a sit rep?
Well, your thing.
7 of them.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna say that.
Got my keys.
My guys.
Around through the windshield.
All units, be advised. 7 prisoners escaped from the bus. At least 1 is armed.
Police, stop!
Oh, dog.
Hey, take it easy. Easy. I got you.
Ooh.
I got you.
Oh.
Easy.
Why would you crawl
7
in
out of
the
15,
bushes?
I need RA unit immediately 60 yards east of the crash. 50-year-old male, life-threatening injuries.
DQ, dog.
Okay, just stop moving, all right? Stop moving.
I gotta get out. I gotta get out.
I got a tie, but I don't have a tourniquet.
Hey, what's your name?
LAPD. Oh, no.
Graham, I'm John.
Am I gonna die?
His
No, come on.
uniform
you're not
badge
gonna
looks
die.
like
You'll
Juan's
be fine, okay? You're gonna be okay.
little
Just hang
shirt.
on.
Dim.
All right?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you got like a makeshift tourniquet. That's a big deal.
That's not right.
7 out of 15, where the hell is my ambulance?
Tell her.
Tell who? Tell who?
Tell her. I love her.
Tell who? Graham, who do you want me to tell?
Give him the death notification. Okay. Good job on you. Did you take notes?
What if it's not his wife?
You corrections people out there, you knew that wasn't a ridiculous thing to say. Beth's like an inmate at the ladies' jail.
Oh, I was. Never mind.
Most major departments are going to allow, in some way, shape, or form, for first responders to have easy checklist of things you should have. Gloves, you should have like 8 pairs on you at all times.
Yeah, but LAPD doesn't even use hand pieces.
pieces.
So I feel like they're
Maybe
like
you're right.
they're like, we're old school. We don't need tourniquets on our person. Bleed out from your gunshot wound like a man.
Tampon in it like a man.
Regardless of your department's perspective on emergency medicine, I think you should at the very least take a stop to bleed. This is good for anybody, but a tourniquet, an Israeli bandage, a chest seal, and some gloves would do you wonders.
Yeah.
And honestly, even just as a boo-boo kit is what I used to call it. Band-Aids.
Tampons.
Alcohol wipes, maybe not tampons. But,
You never know.
we'll say personal hygiene products,
There you
things
go.
of that nature. They are good to have. You are the first line of defense for things like that, and sometimes it can be critical. Maybe not tampons, but there's some of that stuff that could be critical.
You said stop the bleed training. So I'm just trying to cover all bases here.
I would not advise you shoving a tampon anywhere as a police officer. But anyways, a belt's gonna be better than nothing, better than him.
He also didn't even tighten it down though.
Yeah. But this is now becoming a lot more common today that you're seeing. Ours was taught in academy. We had a emergency, like a mock emergency medical class. We had to all tourniquet each other, which was not fun, but that's good stuff. It really could be the difference between this guy living and dying, and his failure to apply a decent tourniquet gave him 0 chance of survival. You slow down medical. Oh. But for me, I need it now.
Officer Nolan, report.
You have a gun. This is a very
Yeah, no
easy-
kidding. Oh god.
Oh, we have OC. Run. There it is.
Nolan! You okay?
Yes.
Get control of him.
You set West over there.
Of course.
Also, he used an OC can while getting strangled.
He also shot it like this.
Yeah.
So you know that came down onto him.
Anyways, this is now starting to get like a very reoccurring theme that they just throw the use of force ladder. They just pick. I feel like it's just like a cup that they go, you know what? We're going to use this amount of force.
Yeah.
I'm going to use a taser.
Like,
on a
do we want to
Russian
put
terrorist.
Nolan in his 17th OIS in this episode today?
OC for the win, baby.
There. 7 out of 19 in pursuit of fugitive suspect heading north on Maple.
He's on foot. There's zero reason to drive like that.
Why would you stop? Bro, keep going. What a terrible shot.
Good job on them, though. I mean, I guess. That's a weird way to do apprehension there.
I'm also not buying that guy is going to act like that from a door swing. Like, oh, did it hit your shin? Does your little shin hurt?
I will say this. So the second he presented the firearm as a deadly force encounter, stopping the car is probably not your best bet there. You can, as we would say on stream, pit that guy.
Well,
there's examples.
You saw
in
how
case
terrible
law.
of a shot he was. He couldn't even shoot him when he was up at the window.
Yeah.
So go faster.
I'm grateful that Tim and Chen are safe due to, I guess, they
Are
don't
you?
have they don't have a marksmanship program in the prison. But
You're just glad they're safe so we can see them live their happily ever after later.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
I had spoilers.
Bro, everyone's already seen the show besides us.
Yeah, but in general, if someone's shooting at you in a patrol car, there's not going to be too many schools of thought that say, turn the driver's side door towards the shooter and just duck. I think in that instance, your best defense is a good offense. Or, again, you have a perfectly viable weapon that you're operating there. It's actually safer, too, for the public. Because you're not just exchanging gunfire from a car, which you could very easily hit Susie Lou down the street if you miss, which missing would be a high likelihood here in the car scenario. I think actually hitting the guy with the car is the safest bet for the public, because worst case scenarios, you're just hitting that guy and he flies a little bit.
It would be what?
The safest. Oh, the best way to de-escalate. There it is.
That's right.
But de-escalate the situation with the pit maneuver. Yeah.
I got sympathy and empathy.
Also, here's some compassion. He's got a front kick for compassion.
Yes.
The door's name is Compassion.
Yeah, I want to point out, and we complained about this in one of the last episodes that we watched, where Chen door checked the guy who was videotaping the lady.
Yeah.
They just used the same amount of force.
Yep.
For old boy that might have been a peeping Tom and an escaped convict that was currently shooting at you with a handgun.
It's true.
A little weird.
We have a hard perimeter set up a mile out. If it was set up in time, it's just a matter of going door to door and running these fugitives down. If a fugitive gets past our perimeter, this turns from a recovery operation to a manhunt, and that puts the entire city at risk. So Bishop, Wong, Mitchell, Pileggi, yourselves will fall back and man the perimeter. Bradford, Lopez, Keegan, and Willis, you'll join the grid search inside the zone. Command will advise you on the identities of the guys you're chasing as soon as we get them. But for now, assume that they are all extremely dangerous. Let's go get them.
Not how a perimeter gets set. So a perimeter is a time-sensitive thing. All of that happens over the radio.
I was just about to say, that could have all been said on a radio call to units that are already set.
Yeah,
because all of that time, all the time that it took to get the mobile command center there, all those cops together, you could have had a secure perimeter around that crash.
Yeah.
But now you have to go out even further because they spent all that time.
The easiest way I could explain this for people is if you ever played hide and go seek, right? Which they're playing professional hide and go seek. You make the person who's looking cover their eyes and count to 10. Why? Well, every second that goes by, the perimeter of which they could hide in gets bigger. If I had to count to 100, I mean, they could run down the street. If I had to count to 5 minutes, right? Like, let's say I was going all the way, you could go a mile away, depending on how fast you're running, right? And so in a perimeter, it's time sensitive because the longer the inciting incident, in this instance, it's the bus crash, right? That inciting incident, the timer starts. And the longer it takes, the bigger that perimeter gets that I have to set. And also the thinner that perimeter, like the membrane becomes very thin because I have a fixed amount of units that I can involve in this, right? So the second the call went out that it crashed, you're immediately setting a perimeter.
Yeah, and you wouldn't send everyone to the crash. As soon as you found out that there was inmates that escaped, you'd be like, you would set up probably a square type of perimeter around the crash site.
Yeah.
To at least start looking.
Yep.
You're not just going to all congregate in one spot.
And it's actually like a really senior shift already knows that. They're
Yeah.
going to start to hear that there's units getting on scene. So you'll have, 7 Adam 15, I'm 1097 or whatever
Yeah,
it is.
you
they're-
look
they're
at the
called.
map and
You'd be like, okay, if he's here, how many different places can they run?
Yeah.
Your a senior shift would do that. Now, a pack of rookies, 100%. This is exactly how that'd go down. Pack of rookies, everyone shows up. The sergeant's like, what the hell are you guys doing here? Set a perimeter.
yeah.
Now we have to set it, 5 square mile radius.
Instead of
wide,
one.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is indicative of people that don't know how that works. So, LAPD would be, I would argue, probably subject matter experts on this. This is probably something they teach in the academy.
Well,
because
they
of how often
probably
they
have
get into foot
perimeters every day.
chases. That's what I'm getting at, yeah. They probably get into foot chases, get into pursuit. This is a
You know what
very
else,
active
though,
police
with
department.
LAPD? As soon as they knew there was inmates missing, that helicopter would be in the air.
Yep. Which would make this a lot less complicated.
Because you have your best chance of finding these dudes while they're wearing orange jumpsuits.
That's very true.
Before they can go change clothes. And the only acceptable use of K9.
Yeah. It's actually a very good use of K9. Yeah. The only downside is they don't know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Very good policy.
Yeah.
That's actually incredibly realistic. That's exactly how they do
Because
it.
you would have a rolling front like that. It's going to rain again?
That's fake rain. Oh, no, it's real rain.
Sir, there's a shelter-in-place order in effect. We need you in your house.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes. Shot on sight in California
Whoa,
doing
get
this.
your hands where I can see them. Now!
No, stay right there.
It's okay.
We got permits for the weapons and our ammo stored
Pause
separately,
it.
so it's legal.
Negative.
I don't care.
30-round magazines, detachable 30-round magazines. All of that's completely illegal.
Can you have plate carriers
California.
in California?
Yeah, I think you can.
You can?
But that first rifle I caught like a glimpse of, would not be kosher in California. Do I agree with it? No. But that's the most unrealistic thing we've seen so far in this entire episode.
In this episode, yes.
LAPD's reaction to that would be pretty ignorant. I'm not going to say anywhere else would be terribly different, but also you're not going to get...
Here would, I think.
Yeah, will civilian responses happen? If there's plenty of instances now where you'll see church groups or community groups or HOAs, which is another part of the devil there, but that come together to go be an armed response to something. Oftentimes you're going to get in the way more than you're going to help. There are instances where maybe if you have some semblance of training or organization that you're at least good at seeing and reporting suspicious behavior. But like...
The problem is, though, as a little militia, you don't have radios to
You have no way.
You have to call 911
Yep.
and then try and relay.
And we
through
also have
911.
we also have no way to communicate to you,
Right.
You know, the other problem I see with this, and I don't know how long it's taken for them to set up this perimeter and get people to shelter in place, and maybe they've been telling people to shelter in place and explained why, and this was a response group to that.
I'm sure there was like a news.
But oftentimes it's
broadcast.
not that fast. It has to be like a chronic problem,
Yeah.
where people are breaking into cars or whatever, and you might see stuff like this. I'm not saying don't do it. It's a free country. You can do what you want. Just understand the risk that you're taking on because we have no idea who you are. Because unless you're notifying local jurisdictions and say, hey, we're going to be walking, we're going to be making big circles in this area. There's a description of everybody. Here's a phone number if you need to get a hold of us. That might be the only reasonable way to do this. Outside of that, you're probably hurting more than you're helping because now someone has to babysit you.
Yeah.
The only time I could maybe see this making a lot of sense is when you're typically doing like a missing person search. So there's no risk involved. I'm not worried about running into a convict or trying to make a use of force decision here. You'll see people all the time. That you'll see deputies or sheriffs that they're, hey, I have to canvass an entire wooded area where there's no way I'm going to have enough manpower. And what we end up doing is you're just sprinkling police officers that do have radios, and everyone just kind of lines up in like a picket line, and you kind of go and search grids.
Yeah.
That might make sense. Or if you were helping to maybe set a perimeter, right? Like let's say you're in a high crime area, and you're like, hey, if you guys need help with that, here's a radio
Maybe.
frequency we can get on. Maybe,
Yeah,
but
maybe.
all of that requires so much organization on the front end. I doubt that's the case here. Also, California.
Ammo stored separately, so it's illegal.
I don't care if it's legal. No good's gonna come from you guys running around here with assault rifles.
We heard prisoners were on the loose. We got a right to protect our neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a job for law enforcement, not a ragtag militia.
Got one.
There's no
Got a
difference.
fugitive. I get off him. Now they do anything. Officers, please.
Hey, let him go. That's not who we're looking for.
I kept telling him that.
You sure? He looks guilty as hell to me. At least check his papers.
Let him go.
Wearing a work vest?
Right now.
That's literally three different kind of felonies.
It's true that the law says we're allowed to defend our neighborhood when in grave danger.
I was swimming ahead.
All right, look, that's enough. Get back. Look,
Yeah,
as
it's
bigoted
unlawful
as they
restraint.
are, they thought they were making
Yeah.
a citizen's
Kidnapping.
arrest.
Yeah.
They haven't broken
Aggravated
the law.
assault.
Because they had him
Their
in.
names will be in our reports.
So
Zip
if you'd like to
cuffs.
sue them for emotional damages, you can.
Hey, how about we just
Or
all,
press charges
feel
for
bad and square our own
kidnapping.
front? No hard feelings?
Fine. If I find out that you're back out here again, I'll have you arrested for violating California Penal Codes 372 and 647B. You got that?
Yeah, existing with a firearm.
647B is the code for prostitution.
They don't know that.
Good for Tim.
Hey, like
I
said,
like that one.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The also, hey, shout out to her for also knowing right off the rip what that is.
Well, remember, they study every night.
I forgot about that.
That's why Nolan gets into use of forces off duty.
Constantly.
Although everyone in the comments told me how right he was to
Yeah.
get into that use of force and then cause an assault and
Yeah.
then arrest someone that he was the victim of a crime of.
Yeah, in a city this size, or just LA County in general, where you have that, like, you're going to have a lot of police officers.
Yeah.
The most police officers I probably had on one call was like 40.
Plus, you're
And it
also.
was multi-jurisdictional. But
I was going to say, LA, that was a sheriff's department crash.
Crash,
right?
yeah.
So you're going to have the sheriff's department
Yep.
also there. You're probably calling in California Highway Patrol.
Yep.
Plus your LAPD officers. Like,
And most of it,
you have so many cops.
in a county situation, like let's say we're out in the sticks, I have much different feelings about this because they're going to be very limited in resources. And if you're a capable individual and that officer, if you build rapport very quickly, you could probably intervene in that
Yeah.
instance. You can also see this in like a, let's say it's like either like a shoplifting call where the police officer just happens to be there by themselves, or it's a traffic stop and they get into an altercation. Could you intervene? Absolutely. And I think that there's plenty of examples of very heroic people going in to help the police with a critical incident like that. But it is, and I always caveat this, it is at great risk to yourself.
Yeah.
In the
'cause
same way that this is dangerous
no
for the
idea.
officer who has the training, has the protective, they have a bulletproof vest, they have training typically, hopefully they're in pretty decent shape, and they're also used to confrontation. Since I've left policing, I've gotten into 0 fights.
Me too.
All of 0. When I was in it, it was like weekly. In certain instances, I was very lucky. Early on, it wasn't as bad, but like
There was always the opportunity.
yeah.
Weekly.
And so, like, I would be rusty now on handcuffing. I make fun of handcuffing a lot, but I was like, when you're doing it every day, it's relatively easy, or it should be.
I
It's-
still bet. I bet you wouldn't even be that rusty.
But the whole thing is the mission they're trying to accomplish, or the thing that they're trying to achieve, is complicated and is dangerous. The other issue with intervening is you don't get context. So let's say, right, this isn't a manhunt. Let's say this is the shadiest group of cops that are in LAPD, and they're over here doing false arrest, and then you intervene, and your intervention then causes injury on a bad arrest. These are things that you kind of have to think about. So all that's to go and to say is I am a believer in stepping up and protecting your community if you believe in that kind of stuff. I do think culturally we could collectively in the Western societies have more social shame around criminality, or have more I guess of a push for change. There's things like broken glass theory that talk about these things, and you can go Google it or read a book. But the amount of law enforcement has the opportunity to have qualified immunity because they have a duty to intervene. They're paid to do it. That's why they're given the training and whatever. When you were doing it as a citizen, though there are good Samaritan clauses, it's going to be much more complicated to convince a jury that you're a qualified person to have stepped up and done it. You can even see this in stuff like an active shooter situation, where the use of force equation is very simple. There's someone hurting other people. Maybe we got to go do this. What gets weird, and this is where law enforcement has this issue, what if he's defending his kids from getting kidnapped? What if you have no idea? When you don't get context, all of these use of force decisions get complicated, and you end up with idiots arresting the yard guy, right? And potentially that's aggravated assault, kidnapping, so on and so forth. And when law enforcement does it, it's easier to say, well, I'm a qualified person, and based on my training and experience, a reasonable, rational person would assume I had what I thought I had. If it turns out that I don't, I fill out paperwork, I have legal representation, I have all that stuff. As a citizen, it's just a lot more complicated. You're taking on a lot of liability, and you probably don't have the amount of experience it requires to safely or as safely as you can, navigate that type of call or use of force encounter. So I'm not saying don't, but just understand what you're getting yourself into.
7 Adam 7 shows code 6 on fugitive suspect.
How do you know you're code 6? How do you know you're on 6?
My car wouldn't sound like that.
Police! You're not there, dude. Get out of the car now!
Get that car.
Show me your hands. Open the door from the outside. Get down on your stomach.
What's her name?
Oscar Hutchinson.
Control, we have fugitive Hutchinson in custody.
I was only running because I thought the bus was gonna explode.
Is that why you stole a car too?
I always loved driving. I've been locked up for decades. I was kind of hoping to get a little me time in before you guys caught me.
I hope it was enough, because this sentence is only gonna get longer now.
Oh, I'm in forever, son. Every moment out here is great.
That's fair.
Good way to look at it, I guess.
Also, what a cool dude. Like, he's like, he ran, and he's like,
knows.
you caught me.
He
And he was cool about
He knows,
it.
dude.
Yeah.
You're already serving a life sentence.
Yeah,
you
he's like,
know.
it is what it is. I will say this. He's an older, likely career criminal, or at least somebody that made the conscious decision to go and commit crimes. They're actually pretty that cool.
Yeah.
I've met many of felons that were very cool about doing felonious activity. They're like, all right, you got me. This ain't worth getting to the hospital. This ain't worth picking up extra charges.
They
Maybe
also,
this counts
they
towards good
also know
behavior.
what's coming.
Yeah.
So it's not like a surprise.
I have in the cops and robbers game, young people are not like that. Young people get
The
ignorant
worst.
about dumb stuff. But
They're the worst.
I have met, I would argue the ratio of really, really cool felons after the age of like 40 is much higher than the cool cops under the age of 40.
Yeah.
You get a lot of douchebags. And a big cop that doesn't disparage the community. I'm part of it, but I've met a lot of rude people that take themselves a little too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's terrible felons, don't get me wrong. But like in general, after they get to a certain age, they're just like, this, I'm too old for this. Like,
Yeah.
I might do the felonious thing because that's what I'm good at, but and that's not the rule. That's just my experience.
License and
Checkpoints
registration,
would
please.
absolutely happen.
Pop that trunk, son.
Yeah.
Okay there, Mr. Bernstein?
Yeah. Yes.
Where are you coming from today?
Preschool.
We're looking for some men who escaped from prison. You haven't seen anyone like that, have you?
No, sir.
Did you pop the trunk for me?
What?
I need you to pop the trunk.
Well, I wouldn't stand there.
No. Look at that. Clues. Bro, Nolan's absolutely a unit for investigating.
Mr. Bernstein, so sorry to take up your time today. Thank you for your cooperation. Have a nice day.
You let him go?
Only way to save that kid.
And what if you're wrong?
He's not.
He's
Nolan's
not. It's
never
Nolan,
wrong.
dog. Was it CSI? Is the guy's name's Horatio, and he puts on the sunglasses? And it's like, yeah, and that's what we're gonna have with Nolan.
Yes.
He's gonna shoot somebody in the kneecap and
That
do some
show,
wild.
I'm so glad no one requests that show because that is the dumbest. Investigators running around with guns and acting like
Hey, dude,
detectives. Come on.
rappelling from helicopters or
Give me
whatever
a
it is. Halo diving.
So stupid.
Going to foreign countries. And,
Yeah. Well, sure, we're gonna get there.
I do think that policing requires a decent amount of acting. I think whether you're doing like investigative interviews or stuff like that,
You have to act like you like people. What are you talking about?
That's a big one. That's a big one, especially like supervisors and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it in this instance, trying to take advantage of the situation that the suspect can't actually see what's going on is pretty wise.
Yeah.
This is a more plausible set of circumstances than the dead man switch, but we'll see what kind of magic he pulls off here to save the kid and have the outro music. Maybe.
We're clear. I did what you wanted. Now give me my daughter. You can take my car.
Drop your gun!
There's an immediate exchange of gunfire right there.
Drove into the Sally Port.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I will say.
Grand Theft Auto. Really? I barely made it 100 yards.
There isn't a distance requirement. You stole a car, which means we gotta process you before we ship you back to prison.
Hey, I'm not complaining. This place is like the Ritz compared to Victorville.
Get him squared away while I contact the sheriff's department about procedure.
You know the drill. Take your shoes off.
West? I knew a West in my youth. Percy. Any relation?
Yeah, it's my dad.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I guess I see the resemblance.
Huh?
You must have got your tall gene from your mom's.
So what, my old man arrested you?
Yeah, well, it was a little bit more complicated than that.
How so?
Well, this was the 90s. The streets were different back then. And your dad was going after some pretty big players. He didn't always sweat the small stuff.
So you're saying he let you go?
Yeah, depending on the day. I'd give him a little intel. He'd look the other way, but not before messing with me. This one time, he caught me with some dope. He told me if I could outrun him, he'd cut me loose.
My dad's pretty fast.
So we tied. I was like 20 pounds lighter back then, and I was high on crank, you know.
I'm sorry, but this does not sound like my dad.
We were all gangsters back then, son. Criminals and 5-0 alike.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, Keith's not here, but almost all of the stories I've heard of policing pre like 2000,
Early 2000s. Yeah.
wild. That was a very
Well,
different
especially
time.
in LA. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure they got down.
Yeah. So, though I understand, and though I tend to err on the side of accountability and transparency, just because you are giving law enforcement a lot of authority over individuals and very easily abused authority. If, and it's a big if, you were able to recruit the right people to be police officers, the discretionary side of the job, I do think always does better than just your do everything by the letter of the law, do everything by the book. Yeah. And the reason I'll explain, so like we policed in a very, very poor area, right? And policy was that every single car I found without insurance and that person didn't have a valid driver's license got towed. Every time. Mm-hmm. And I next to never did it. Definitely got lectured. If I had very cool supervisors that would let it slide. I had some that didn't. But I leveraged it in as much discretion as I could to not enforce that specific policy because all I'm doing is taking poor people and making them more poor.
By
Which is gonna do
writing
what?
them
Yeah.
$700 worth of tickets and towing their car.
So I'm going to further impoverish that person, plus get them on warrants, plus get them into, which again, I will eventually have to arrest them on, which will eventually potentially be a use of force because the same jackass that wrote
And
me the
then
tickets,
they're
the
gonna
guy's
have
coming over here.
they're gonna have their
checking me out.
kids in their car the next time you pull them over.
The more there is probably a linear curve on the more impoverished or the less options somebody has to get out of poverty, the more likely you are to see crime of any kind. This is going to be everything from porch piracy all the way up to aggravated assaults and domestics and so on and so forth. There's like a pressure cooker is the best way I could describe it. And when you're in areas where there's chronic poverty or there's a lot of people that are moving here because there's cheaper housing, right? But they're going to be poor. They're going to be less food secure. They're going to be less income secure and all of that stuff. They're more likely to hit each other. They're more likely to do a lot of this stuff that requires law enforcement interaction. In those spaces, discretion oftentimes does better in building rapport than just simply letter of the law with everything. You know, they would even at the higher level, panhandling was in Texas wide illegal, and our county said we just can't enforce this. We would be arresting someone every single day, you know, for just that, which I had my feelings about. I wasn't a fan of having pedestrians just hanging out in the middle of the roadway.
Our city was pretty strict on it.
There was very specific streets that we would not mess you up on, but if you were on a big major street, you were gone immediately.
Especially if you were walking like in through lanes of traffic.
So, and in that instance, sometimes an arrest isn't the answer. Sometimes simply just moving them somewhere else is a better solution than just putting them in the system. Or in certain instances where they might have mental illness, you know, and now they're going to be further victimized by hanging out or being stuck on the street, right? Yeah. Sometimes arresting them was the better choice. Because like, hey, I can get you fed. You could be in a place where you can go take a shower and be off the street for a little bit.
I saw the other day, I saw this lady. I see her all the time. She's likely homeless because I always see her like in the same couple outfits.
Yeah.
So she used to have a bike. Now she has one of those like plastic kids wagons.
Yeah.
And I was at a stoplight the other day and I saw her in the lane of traffic to my left. She crossed the road like she was a car.
No.
Like she was standing in the lane of traffic with her wagon. And the car went and she crossed the road, like ran through the intersection like she was a car.
Could you imagine?
And there was a fire captain over here to my right, and he rolled the window down and was like saying something to her. I guarantee he called the police department and was like, hey, you guys need to come. Because like she's going to get hit by a car.
I was going to say she's going to get hit in the intersection or something like that. So I what he described was an older style of policing, which again was.
I also think you have to look at crime in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Like, what were the crime trends in the 90s versus
today?
now?
Yeah,
and like population and all of that was different.
I think even culture around crime was very, very different, and so you a lot of different cultural shifts and economic shifts in time. I think it was just very, very different. I mean, he's talking about pre-TSA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pre the TSA being there, how many planes hit towers? 0. Post, you know what I mean? And so it's like, it's an interesting crime and the way that you deal with crime's a much more complicated equation than people like to make it believe, and no amount of policy tends to fix it. This is a very holistic approach to stuff that I think we're not prepared yet as a society to solve, but that's probably very accurate. The story he gave was probably very...
Also, his dad's definitely way cooler than he is.
100%. So. That's easy. That's at the bar pretty low.
Prison transport would be here soon.
Lucky me. Hey, listen, you see your old man, tell him I said hi. And I haven't forgotten.
Forgotten what?
The 45 you planted. Reason I'm doing life in prison.
Saying that my dad framed you?
Well, no, we were good while I was informant on guys. I think he made some pretty heavy busts. But when I stopped being useful, cops found a murder weapon in my apartment.
Let me guess. For a crime that you didn't commit.
No, I killed that dude. He says there wasn't any evidence. Not until your daddy planted that gun on me. Bet you haven't heard that story at the dinner table.
Perfect illustration of what I described. That is how policing was probably done back then, and it was much easier to get away with too. Heck, we saw one of our recent body cam breakdowns. The chick literally magically pulls out a bottle, pours it out. It's like there's an empty container there.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, you
Did
hear
like
her
a
crack
weird-
the seal.
Yeah.
And it was,
It was a weird, and then like it turns out she was like the #1 go getter for DWIs in her state.
Wonder why.
And that's So, like I said, it's why I tend to err. I am of the opinion that the vast majority of people are not capable of dealing with the kind of power you're given as a police officer. So I'll always err on the side of transparency. I feel that way about any government official. I feel that way about principals. I feel that way about the mayor's office. That's anybody. That's not just police officers. So I will always err on, and it's also why we get accused of being only robbers on lives. But like the process is there.
Don't talk to the police.
Yeah, your rights are there for a reason because you have to get there the right way. Even if the guy totally did the crime, right? Totally murdered the dude, but there was no evidence. Planting a gun is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
It's just not in any universe. However, back then it was considerably easier to do than it is now in the day and age of body cams, and there's just so much more accountability on the police side. I do think that you're seeing instances now where they're trying to make that accountability on the civilian side of things, which I think is a betrayal of public trust. I shouldn't be putting more CCTV cameras.
Letters are hard.
My dyslexia hit me there. But you shouldn't be doing more of that to the public to gather evidence of criminality, because I do think there's some Fourth and Fifth Amendment violations happening there. You should just have it like a bubble around police officers that everything they're doing is being monitored. So if I did find the evidence, there's no way to throw it out in court.
Yeah.
I found it. There's so much transparency on the chain of custody for evidence that by the time you get to court, it's very transparent and clear cut on what I did or what I didn't find. I think that's more important.
Try goodness first. 3 more fugitives were apprehended, leaving just 2.
Why are we all...
But those 2 are going to be held.
We're all congregated again.
You know why?
And that's just
The FBI's here.
Oh, that's right.
This is how the FBI conducts.
Yeah, so
perimeters.
at this point, we're going to have to assume that these guys have gotten past the perimeter, which means that we're going to have to get inside their heads to figure out where they're going to go.
Predictive analytics.
You sound skeptical.
No, ma'am. I just found the best way to catch a criminal is to hit the streets.
Well, that's because you have no experience doing it any other way. Marcus Gibson, only 24 years old, but he's been a member of the 54th Street Gang for over a decade. He was recently sentenced to 12 years in Victorville for aggravated assault and attempted murder.
And the 5-4 will do everything they can to help him get away.
Including spiriting him out of the state.
I've got a contact inside the 5-4 that might be able to give us some insight.
Go talk to him.
Okay, good.
I would have been
Our
doing
next
that already if I
fugitive
wasn't
is
stuck in this
Caleb
stupid
Jost.
meeting. Sorry.
He is, in my opinion, the more dangerous of the two. He is 44 years old, a former investment banker, sentenced 5 years for securities fraud and another 8 for biting off the nose of his deputy AG
Yikes.
during his arrest. He is testament to the fact that psychopaths can carry a briefcase as easily as a grab bag,
The FBI believes Caleb hid significant resources before he was arrested.
which he's going to need to avoid going back to prison.
So we have to dig into the FBI leads and figure out the location of that money before he gets there.
That's exactly right. Are you up for the challenge, Officer Nolan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Then you and Officer Bishop can stay with me while everybody else runs down more obviously.
It's his dream.
So
All right, here we go.
none of those are FBI leads. All of that would be considered a searchable record within TCIC or NCIC or whatever it's going to be for.
Well, you don't
all
think the
your arrest
FBI?
record.
You don't think the FBI would be the one investigating the security fraud?
Maybe the security fraud side of it, that I could see. But like it would have all come up in someone's report tied to that guy's rap sheet.
Unless it was all federal charges.
Yeah. Yeah, in that case I could see. Well, then why is he not in federal prison?
True.
Like if that was a county asset and a county bus from the county prison or whatever it was, or the state prison.
Maybe he was getting transferred to federal prison.
Maybe. Now that I could see. But yeah,
knows?
the recalling your officers that were on a perimeter. If you've broken down the perimeter, you've broken down the perimeter, which means it's clearly not being successful. So maybe I could see that they're all doing this collective briefing. But like all of this could be sent to your MDC. All of it in a modern,
Again, all done over the radio.
Yeah. On a because what happens now, especially now with more sophisticated radios,
And you would get the little briefings.
Yeah, oh,
we
yeah.
used to get those all the time.
yeah, you would literally they could make another channel just for you or move to
And
a
they
different
would
channel.
if the FBI was there.
Yep, they just
Like,
say, hey,
also-
we're all moving over to a different channel so that we're not occupying regular radio traffic.
Are you telling me that she was there for scenario training and now she's working with
happen.
them? Like,
Would not happen
I don't think that's
in no universe.
What's predictive analytics?
Using data from the past to predict the future. The feds love that kind of stuff. They'd rather sit in front of a computer than hit the streets and scuff their loafers.
True.
Still, if it helps solve a crime or find a fugitive, isn't it worth using?
Whose side are you on?
I didn't know there were sides, but yours, definitely yours.
Deacon, thanks for coming in.
No problem. I figured I'd be hearing from you today.
Hey,
Why?
Deacon Joe.
Liz Chen.
Bradford's next victim. I remember when your TO was the one wearing the long sleeves.
Oh, you got pictures?
I like her.
I'm thrilled. Deacon was my
'Cause I do
first
too.
arrest. Also one of the few to be
Not
rehabilitated
yet.
in a maximum security prison.
Man, I swear to God, every time I see you, it's like a time machine. I mean, since we met after 6 years in Chino, got clean, left the life, started up a family. Only thing that changed about you is the lines in your face.
What lines? If you were expecting to hear from me, then you know why you're here. Marcos Gibson. Look, I need to get to him before he hooks up with the 5-4.
Yeah, Marcus was one of my kids for a while. I lost him to the 5-4. But they're the last place he's gonna go right now.
Why?
He was knocking boots with Keon's woman right before the trial.
Who's Keon?
Leader of the 5-4. This kid must have a death wish.
Yeah, if Keon gets a hold of Marcus before you guys do, he'll kill him.
It's cheaper. Sorry.
taxpayer dollars.
I'm a little jaded. Is gang violence / drama a thing you're gonna have to deal with in policing? Yes. Would you have this in depth of a CI? Probably not.
Not as a patrol officer.
Not as a patrol officer for sure. I could see like a gang unit probably understanding this kind of drama, that intimate amount of drama that's in there.
I bet the gang unit already knew that he was sleeping with
so and so
old boy's girlfriend.
So that I could see, but it's pretty rare that you get that convenient of information. You might get like known aliases, known contacts. It'd be very easy to look up previous addresses and then like known associates. That typically, if you have a gang unit,
That's another
located
thing they
somewhere-
never brought up.
Yeah.
Why didn't they send officers to these people's like family houses,
Mom,
friends' house, like
dad, brother?
that would have been
girlfriend.
the
any of that
most
stuff.
realistic.
Yeah. And that would have happened if you had the availability. The second you broke down that perimeter, that's where you'd be sending everybody. All known associates, go.
If it was just those
Yeah.
two, yeah.
Also, that they didn't cover like bus stations. I guess if there's a taxi ride service, if there's anywhere major where you'd be able to get access to transportation. That's
Well,
gonna
you would
get you out of
assume
there.
they would send all that information to those
Places.
agencies themselves.
Yeah,
Like,
but they didn't really cover so much of that. It's like a broader perimeter, anyways.
yeah.
In case before you set your perimeter up, they had already left it. In case they're really, really fast, right? That's something else.
Or
you
they
might think
spent so
about.
much time in a little group briefing.
No kidding, doing the kumbaya stuff. But we'll see. I'm sure because it's the rookie, they'll catch him. But still.
Found something. I ran a search of names from Caleb's life against recent dispatch calls. Discovered a wellness check that was called in for the aunt of Caleb's ex-wife. I guess she's a daily churchgoer, but she didn't show up today.
She could have just gone to the movies or maybe plan to go later.
Maybe. Or her routine was disturbed by a visit from our fugitive. Good work, Officer Bishop. Go check that out.
Text from Deacon. He's got Marcos.
I remember
Number
these clips now.
2354.
So you're gonna send two? Okay, the context made these scenes way worse.
Yeah.
Prison or after?
After, I think. What is it?
You're gonna send only
If they
two
were still married
cops.
when he went to prison, there's a good chance he'd get some money here.
Which would give
Even
him
that, this is
reason to
technically
come
one
here after
cop.
getting through our perimeter.
True.
And this is the house. Okay, tactical
I do like
recommendation.
staging.
Knock a recon.
Recon. This guy bites off noses. I don't want to get surprised by him. I'll go low.
Tactical recommendation: have backup.
That's a broken door.
Georgiana's busted.
7 Adam 15.
That's realistic. That's
Back up
good.
at 2354 Sawyer.
Nolan's out here crushing it today.
Possible fugitive suspect, Caleb Jost.
Yeah, we're out with a possible fugitive suspect. Can we now get back up as we're making entry?
No kidding. You would go in. I do agree with this.
Yeah, but you would have had backup with you already.
Yeah. Lights on, rookie. I'm gonna roast that every time. Boot. There it is. I don't like separating for a building search.
Yeah.
Oh, it's this scene.
Yeah. And the other one is Chen and Bradford roll up on that street full of gangbangers.
He immediately gets smoked right there.
I'm pretty sure that's what you said when we watched it.
Or she could just go up and cut the string.
Also true.
Also what you said last
Yeah. Or put the safety on the shot. Literally just click.
I'm sure producer Juan will link those clips in the description for this episode.
You know, I felt a little stupid taking me up Aunt Sally, but I'm feeling pretty good about it now. Hey! Stay back! Or I am repainting the walls in here crimson.
Come on, Caleb. You're too smart a guy to be
A little
pulling
darker
that
than
trigger. Right now,
Crimson?
you're looking at aggravated assault. That might
Crimson.
add a couple years to your sentence, but if you kill her...
Stop! Stop trying to reason with me. I hate prison. If I got a shot at not going back, I'm gonna take it, so back the hell up! And get me someone who can make a deal, or I am pulling this trigger.
She's had a good life.
Potential crimes to this.
I'm an overachiever. Where's my negotiator?
On the way. You can talk to me while we wait.
You're a nobody.
A negotiator can't cut you a
I
deal.
want somebody with authority.
How you doing?
A little stressed.
Were you gonna get him pardoned or what?
Well, then you're fine.
Who are you?
Smart setup. SWAT can't shoot you through the windows, and we can't rush you from the doorways without you pulling the trigger.
You my negotiator?
Nope.
You're not.
No, I'm only here to advise. Besides, guys like that, you have to keep off balance.
Well, that wasn't in your book.
Well, I can't give away all my secrets.
So what do we do here?
Okay, good question. So I reread Caleb's file on the way over here.
And?
The file.
You don't say much, do you?
If you kill that woman, I'm gonna shoot you in the face. A lot.
It's good to know.
Okay, Caleb. Here's the thing. After a brief discussion with my associate, we've come to the conclusion that you're full of crap. You're not suicidal. You're a narcissist. Stuck in a chimney. With no chance for escape.
Hey, stay back!
The only way you get out of this room alive
At this
is
point,
if you
there's no
give
need to
up.
have a handgun.
No.
Right now.
But she did promise him she was going to shoot him in the face, so.
Get up.
There you go.
Slow down. Hands behind your head. Interlace your fingers.
Hey, sometimes a quick escalation of force is the best de-escalation. Hey,
I'm only here to advise, even though I told you exactly what to say.
You said when push comes to shove, you'd surrender.
Well, yeah, but I could have been wrong.
Typical Fed bullshit. Come in, I'm just advising, and then if shit goes wrong, I was never here.
Exactly. Outcomes matter, right? And
How about this? If you want to see our full explanation of the scene,
go check
you can
that
just
out.
go watch
Yeah,
the
go
clip.
check that out. I'm not gonna sit on this one for very long. But outcomes matter. Good job. Nolan's still out here crushing it. He's the main character
In his own story.
in his own story.
Control. Show us on site at 1115 Amador Street.
He is the rookie.
Yeah.
Damn it. 5-4 must have heard Marcos was at Deacon's house.
Remember this one?
What do we do?
I do know.
Keep your cool and get ready for trouble.
This is extra stupid.
Oh, yeah. We got lots of questions about that.
I stand by what I said.
Hello, officer. Lovely evening.
Sure is. What are you guys doing out here?
You know, just exercising our constitutional right to assemble.
God bless America. Well, I suggest you all assemble somewhere else.
Is that in order?
Consider it a little
It
friendly
is in order
advice.
because you're on a public street.
Well, we appreciate you looking out for us, officer. But we ain't going nowhere.
You gotta get on the sidewalk then.
Then maybe I'll see you later.
Count on it.
How do you not already have like 100 units in Round Cove? Because ain't that many people.
Control, patch me through to 7L20.
7M19, report.
We got a bit of a situation here, Sergeant. Approximately 15 gang members are gearing up to take out our fugitive, Marcos Gibson. Jen and I made it through their lines, but the 5-4's gonna come after this guy soon.
I just sent all available units to
Why?
Nolan's hostage
It's
situation
done.
over in Culver City. But I will reorient some back to you.
Sir, this is a family neighborhood. If bullets start flying, a lot of kids are gonna get hurt.
What are you saying, Bradford?
Have the units stage away from our location until overwhelming force
Yeah.
arrives. Anything less than that's gonna come with a body count. We'll do our best.
Actually, not a terrible strategy, but also shouldn't have just showed up by yourself.
Also, you're telling me there's only enough cops in LAPD to handle
One.
one call, and then even though SWAT was on that call.
Yeah.
What are the odds they'll change their minds and leave?
See,
They were parked on the wrong side of the street.
also, real gangsters would have already shot this place up.
Maybe not
What
if
do you
he's an
wanna
OG.
do? Let's start with you letting us in.
You know what? I'm with you on that.
You'll get a little bit of time and respect for
Yeah,
that. But
I do respect that. Yeah.
First time I've ever been happy to see cops.
Hook 'em up, Boot.
What? Well, hang on. Yo, I gotta keep my hands free in case I gotta fight.
I hate to break it to you, but if this gets to fighting, your hands aren't going to help. Turn around. Turn around. Now.
Can we escape out the back?
No, they got guys out there too. I saw them with Keon rolled up.
Bring him out.
We know we in there. Go, you scared. Right, Bob, go. You big creature.
Gotta be ready to fight. That's actually the most realistic thing. This guy's like used to prison.
Yeah.
Like gang affiliated prison.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of paperwork.
But also,
for you,
let's
Boot.
be real.
Seriously? That's
If
what
he
you're
slept
thinking
with
about
the
right
gang
now?
leader's girlfriend, he'd have been dead in prison.
That's what I mean.
Hypothetically, is there ever a scenario where we just give them what they want? Where we, balance one life against the lives of many lives and make that hard call?
That call isn't ours to make. We're
Based.
here to serve and protect. We don't get to decide who we serve or who we protect.
So
Based, Tim.
you're willing to die for that guy?
I am unwilling to let fear make me do something I'll be ashamed of in the light of day.
Oh, hey, where are you going?
Gonna talk.
Damn it! You stay here. No matter what happens to me, you protect him.
I will.
Hey, leave him alone. If you want to beat someone up, I'm right here. What I want is Marcos.
You give him up? We out of here.
I can't do that.
Look, I got no beef with you or Joe. But that fool in there, he was creeping with my old lady. So he got to get dealt with.
Aren't you mad at her?
Don't give up.
Well,
You
ignorance
alone?
be ignorance.
Outnumbered?
You know, it was pointed out to me today that I've been doing patrol a long time. Maybe too long. I've seen a lot of friends move up and on, promotions, other agencies.
I don't give a damn,
Well, you should. Because one thing I've learned all these years is that I'm never alone. And I'm never outnumbered.
That's what you're supposed to
You're under arrest. Turn around, get down on your knees. Turn around. Hands behind your head.
Great timing on his part, though.
Yeah.
I underappreciated the timing of that.
Yeah. He had to have heard the helicopter.
Yeah.
Call it in.
Yeah, that's right, Boo.
Yeah, Boo.
She's like, that's so hot.
Yeah, that's where it started.
That's where
well,
it started.
No, it started before that.
Weak in the knees.
For sure.
It's pretty realistic. You're going to make the right decision no matter what, even if it's an expensive decision to make. That is your job.
Yep.
It's unfortunate.
There's also a clip of that on our YouTube also. Link in the description.
Like on the description. So that was season 1, episode 15. If you guys like this type of content, Manhunt. If you like this type of content, you can go check out our entire series of this. We're trying to watch every single episode and try to catch up to. I think they're at like season 5 or 6 now. So we're trying to catch up for you guys.
Yeah, there's a fresh season on TV right now. I think.
We also have a bunch of different other things. We have everything from like Daffy Duck all the way to
Simpsons.
I don't know that Pokemon made it, but.
It made it. It just looks a little weird.
Either way, you guys can go check out the rest of that content. We do have memberships now live on our
YouTube
channel.
Memberships.
We also do have a Patreon group. It's as little as $1 a month. That gives you direct access to our Discord, which is where we do all of the really cool stuff. We also go live. We likely going live right after this, but it will be every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 Central Standard Time. Want to thank you guys for writing 2 Man with us and support the people that are supporting us. I appreciate it.